So just to let you know, we have 4 great startups so far. And if you get any questions throughout the event, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A chat you will see below all that. And we'll make our best to ask them, and the presenters will make the best to answer them. So I'm just going to wait for another 30 seconds and begin my introductions. Perfect. So welcome to London New Tech. We've been there for 6 years already. This is our 57th event so far, and we are going strong. As mentioned, today we're going to have 4 great startups presenting. So first, we're going to have Dropadrone. Second, we're going to have Capture Education. Then we're going to have Mark Labs, and the final startup presented for today is going to be Nuve. After that, we're going to have networking in Discord, and I'm going to tell you how it's going to run in a bit. So the format of the event is our usual format. It's 5 minutes pre-recorded pitch, followed by 5 minutes live Q&A. So we're going to show you pitches which were pre-recorded by our presenters, and then you're going to be able to ask your questions to them live when they answer to them. We love the networking, and we really believe that it's one of the most important parts of our event. So we try to make the best of alternatives to move the networking to the virtual arena. We're using Discord for this. Discord provides voice and video channels where you can chat with the presenters, chat with members. You'll be able to join the Discord via the link which is going to be posted by my colleagues at the end of the event. And they're going to post it now as well. So you can join it earlier if you wish to. So I'm just going to tell you how it runs. When you're going to press on the link, you're going to be sent to this page. And there you will need to create a username. So when it's loading, you'll be able to either create your own account or just to skip it and be a temporary member of Discord and of London New Tech if you don't want to claim the account, right? So you can see user interface where my colleague Michael welcomes you to the London New Tech Discord channel. And then you can press on roles. So you can either scroll to the message up, or you can choose it on the left over there. And we have 3 roles there. We have a role for professional, for founder, and for the student. So once you press one of them, you're going to have get access to even more channels than that you already have. So for the general channel, where you can introduce yourself, share your news, share your startup, and then we're going to have dedicated channels with our presenters. So those are voice channels. And for instance, we used to have a startup which presented called Dorming, right? So it was very easy for me to join the channel like the presenter could have been, and I could have chatted there. As you can see, I can move from one channel to another very easily. And this is the whole purpose of the Discord. We also have a fundraising and business development channel. So if you have any questions related there, you can join the channels. So if you want to have a more private conversation, we also have channels with limited number of people. So we have channels for 2, for 3, for 4, and for unlimited number of people now. If you want to invite someone to the channel, you can press add and scroll to find the members which you want to speak to, and just invite the person to the particular channel. And just join yourself, obviously, because, well, how else are you going to speak, right? All right, perfect. So this is the end of the Discord presentation. I hope you're going to enjoy it. My colleagues should have posted the link to the Discord. If they haven't, please do, because they're watching as well. And now I'm just going to briefly mention you the partners which we have. So we have a CrowdCube partner. So if you are considering doing a crowdfunding campaign, which is in particular useful for B2C startups, you can reach out to us and we will happily refer you to CrowdCube. If you get referral through us, you'll be able to get a fast track and a free consultation with them. We have Tides, so if you're just starting your venture, you need to set up a business account, you can get a referral from us, get a free account for a year, and I think some other perks as well. And then we have Nurture from GCDco, and if you get referral and you want to have an outdoor advertising, you can send us a message, and they essentially provide 50% discount on outdoor advertising of GCDco, which is like one of the largest advertising firms in the world, which is very nice, I think. And then we have Stern & Law, which helps startups to protect their interest in terms of legal help. All right, perfect. So you can contact us if you want to. You can either speak to us at Discord after the event. Each of us is going to be there, or you can shoot us an email. We also have a bunch of different social media platforms, so you can pick your favorite, and we share the most news there. Great. It's time to hear our first presenter, Damien from Dropadrone.
Damien and I'm the founder of Dropadrone. I'm here looking for £250,000 pre-seed investment, and I hope you enjoy my pitch. So in today's problems, there's quite a lot of fossil fuel powered vehicles which are causing delays, inefficiencies and damaging our environment. Also, this means that any food deliveries take on average 45 minutes, and any vital medical supplies take hours, if not days, for delivery. This is especially in remote and rural areas. So our problem to this is we are a commercial food and medical drone delivery provider in rural, remote and urban areas in the northwest UK and beyond. So we are Dropadrone, the commercial drop delivery drone. Now the whole market within the Europe from 2019 to 2027 is expected to grow at a staggering 61%, and this accounts for over 510 million. These stats can also be found at Research and Markets. Now the management team is split into two, so you got myself with a background in aerospace avionics, all in the military, and Tahir, who's a co-founder, and his expertise is all technical safety engineering. On top of this, we've got an advisory board, and we are seeking more advisors, especially in the medical and food industry. Our main one is our UK CAA consultant, Andrew. He's going to be working with us throughout the period, doing quite a lot on the development of safety and operating cases, and making sure that this company goes in the right direction. Now, our development strategy, so within our first year receiving funding, all our technology is going to be bespoke, and that's purely a fact of the CAA won't just allow any sort of drone technology to be operating around. So we're especially working with CAA approved technology groups. Now, we're also going to be working with the CAA sandbox because we're looking at beyond visual line of sight certification, and we're also going to be utilising deliveries in rural and remote areas. And within the first year, we're going to be operating in North Wales, Peak District and Lakes. We're just purely proving the technology to businesses, stakeholders, and just developing our company as a whole. And then from 2 years plus, we're going to be looking at beyond visual line of sight certification, working with Moon Rock Drone Insurance, and just start providing a visual, beyond visual line of sight commercial delivery service. And then from 5 years plus, we're looking at passenger transportation. We're going to be looking at e-commerce and also looking at purely the city centre urban areas. Now, the actual product itself, so we're going to be working with Altitude Angels for the UAM software, and this makes sure that any drones stay without danger areas. We're also going to be working with SkyVerge, trialing their software. They're currently working with the CAA, and this allows drone technology to fly within integrated airspace, so we can share airspace with aircraft. Now, our drone parachutes are going to be a secondary emergency redundancy, and we're basically making our drones safe, and safe. The drones are all going to be electric. It's going to have an electrical winch to reduce delivery safety hazards. Our actual app is going to be designed by the local university, and all our technology is going to have space technology such as 4G and eventually 5G. The product itself, we've gone for a small payload of 5 kg, and we're looking to deliver within 3 to 5 minutes of the local area and up to 30 minutes for beyond visual line of sight. The reason we kept it small is when it comes to mass manufacturing further down the line. Now, this type of technology has proven to save logistic companies a cost between 50 to 80%. Now, currently in the Northwest, there's no development or this type of drone technology which is currently in developing, which is happening right now. However, Preston Council have put in like a drone port application, and North Wales has drone flight test facilities. On top of this, Salford are seeking to become a leading smart city. Now, further to this, the reason why a lot of companies haven't yet started developing it is because over the past 8 years, there's been quite a lot of hit and miss with the CAA regulations. However, earlier on this year, they brought out the first regulation, especially for the UAM model. And they're currently, so that the government, CAA, NHS are all trialling drone deliveries with skyports in Scotland as we speak. There's going to be some over winter, and this is going to be an ongoing process. So this market is growing. Now, the actual potential for this, so say 5 years down the line, it's going to be staggering, operating within the city centres. There'll be an app. We're going to be also within the first year and beyond, airport in a box, and we're just going to operate on a similar model as Deliveroo. So first of all, we're going to prove this capability in rural remote areas and then bringing it to the urban area. Now, the funds are going to be split down between the drone technology, the development, the operating license, trials and testing. Also, some's going to be spent towards website and advertisement. Now, pre-approval for EIS and SEIS is currently pending, and the actual £250,000 will last us up to 18 months before we'll need another funding round. And the next funding round will be purely just for manufacturing. Now, our competition, so there is the likes of Amazon, Uber, which are in the background are developing this type of technology. I know Amazon are currently doing this over in the States, and they're working with the CAA as we speak, so they can start delivering parcels over in the UK. Manor over in Ireland they've done over 1,000 flights, and they've been pretty active, and you've probably seen that they've partnered with Tesco's over in Ireland to start trialing deliveries. Skyports are working with the NHS and the government, and there's also worked with Vodafone and just delivering PPE in Scotland. So this competition is slowly growing, and this market is actually growing as we speak. So our financial plan, so we've got down drones in service up to 5 years, 50. Realistically, we'd like to have more than that. So we've just kind of kept it safe. Now, we're going to be operating on a B2B and a B2C model. So for a B2B model, that's charging a set weekly rate. Businesses a set fee to use our services. And then when we start going down the line, we can start using B2C, where customers will pay, and we can easily achieve 100 deliveries a day per drone. So why invest? So we've had a high attraction from a range of potential partners. We're also going to be doing trials and testing with a Welsh company called More Food Products. Our drones are commercially unique, and we're looking at temperature control within the cargo compartment. Now, there's no other company which is establishing this in the Northwest. So together, with your help, let's actually build this drone port in the Northwest. Thank you for listening. There's my website details and my email. Thank you.
Hi, Damien.
Hi, it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for your presentation. We have a couple of questions for you. The first one is we'd like to know the origin story of the Dropadrone. What inspired you to start providing a drone delivery service?
Yeah, so I've seen the trend over in the USA and China, and I've seen the potential, what this technology can provide, especially in the Northwest. So we've got like North Wales, the Peak District, Lake District. You've got people who like to go mountaineering, and let's say there's an incident on the ground, we can deliver first aid, any medical equipment, to personnel, and also looking at food deliveries. And when I seen what's happening in China and over in the USA, and I thought we could definitely do with this technology. So it was something which inspired me, and also because of my background.
Okay, sounds good. So how do you plan to expand your team in order to meet the engineering and production needs of creating these drones?
Yeah, so at the minute, we've got 2 pilots, 2 management team, a couple of advisors, especially in the CAA. Now we're working with a range of different companies who already produce technology which already being flown through the CAA drones, and we're utilising them companies basically because it's quicker for the overall approval process, and we've already spoke to them about manufacturing and coming together to start developing within the Northwest.
Makes sense. So we have one question from Mas. What indication do you have that your timing is right?
Can you say that again, please?
What indication do you have that the timing is right?
Oh yeah, purely because the first regulation come out, and because of everything which is going on, just overseas with all the drone deliveries, and because we see Manor over in Ireland and Skyports currently doing trials, so I think it's the best time to start developing this technology.
Makes sense. And can you tell us more about the regulations? What regulations are there in terms of the safety and use of drones in the logistics space?
Yeah, definitely. So at the minute, it depends if you're operating on visual, extended, and beyond. So on visual line of sight, people normally operate, you've got to keep within 150 meters away from a building, and you're not allowed to fly over buildings. However, with these new trials going on, you can do deliveries beyond visual line of sight, which means you can go behind buildings, and also, operating more within urban areas. So that's why there's a new drone program which is currently ongoing, and also we're going to be rural remote areas and then bring it to the urban area, especially looking at golf courses and just doing deliveries within golf course within the city centre, and working with the likes of Altitude Angels to start flying within integrated airspace, and then bringing it even further then to doing actually deliveries in urban areas.
Makes sense. We have a question from Miles regarding the noise pollution. He mentioned that in Australia, there's been quite a lot of public complaints. How do you tend to overcome this in the UK?
Yeah, so we're looking at having the technology basically suppress so it don't make a lot of noise, and also if we're operating in rural remote areas at first, we'll look at monitoring the noise and looking at advancing the technology before it then goes into the urban areas. So we'll make sure that it doesn't make a lot of noise, but it does need to make a little bit of noise to make people aware that there's a drone there, just for safety reasons.
Makes sense. Thanks. So we have an interesting question from Bruce. What's the carbon footprint of this kind of delivery compared to existing white van deliveries?
Yeah, so because it's all electric, green technology, it has a massive effect on, say, the environment. So we're helping reduce carbon emissions. So if we can do more deliveries by electric power, electric technology, then overall, over fossil fuel vehicles, we're reducing, basically, it's helping the environment overall.
Sounds great. So we have a final question is, what will make you the winner in the case drone delivery market?
Yeah, definitely, because there's no one in the Northwest at the minute. And also we're looking at having some sort of temperature control within our cargo compartment. Now this temperature control is currently used in America, but there's none in the UK. And the temperature control will be able to keep, say, it could be blood, human organs from one hospital to another within, like a cold temperature. Or if we're delivering, let's say, food supplies, you can keep it within this, a set regulated temperature, which will be adequate for the food. So that's what we're currently working with the engineers to adapt and see what works best.
Sounds great. Thank you very much, Damien, for answering the questions. If anyone, and there are some questions which were not answered, you can ask them to Damien in Discord after the conversation at his dedicated voice channel. Thank you very much, Damien.
All right, thank you.
So now we're going to have a second presenter, Paul from Capture Education.
Hi, my name is Paul Campbell and I'm the founder of iCapture, a company behind Capture Education and Capture for Schools. We allow educators to connect and engage with parents through our secure digital platform. Back in 2015, my daughter was in nursery and I was becoming really frustrated with how difficult it was for me to get information as to what she was doing and also for me to be able to keep in contact with the nursery. So we created Capture Education.
Whilst Capture was originally developed to keep parents connected, we identified a number of issues that we could address for our clients. Educators are burdened with a huge amount of paperwork to track, record and demonstrate the progress of the children in their care. This could have an impact on employee stress and retention, as well as taking them away from their primary role of supporting the children. The Capture Education system is easy to use, and on average our customers are saving 6.5 hours per week on reduced paperwork. All educators can be inspected at any time by Ofsted in the UK or similar government bodies around the world. A poor rating by Ofsted can have significant impact on a setting's reputation and can be devastating to a business. By using Capture, our customers can be assured that their records are easily to hand and that all of their tracking and reporting is accurate, with reports quick and easy to generate. Our clients love Capture, and here's just some of the feedback we've received.
It does save time. Before we was having to do the paperwork and everything. Now you're just obviously clicking on the app, everything's there for you. For our parents who have English as a second language, it's a lot easier for the parents to actually visualise and see their children at play and be able to read it.
It's benefited us because I have more time to spend with the children than worrying about my observations. You don't have to write down every single link, like links to in the UIFS, it's easy to just click on them. It's just saves so much time.
And our client satisfaction isn't just reflected in testimonials, with 82% of our customers renewing with us last year. Our reputation has helped us to grow by 37% in 2019, and we have stored over 1 million observations in our system. In 2018, we launched our hardback photo books, which are easy for parents and educators to quickly build based on the observations that have already been made on their children. We've seen the popularity of these books increase significantly, and they accounted for approximately 20% of our revenues in 2019. COVID-19 has had a big impact on our clients, with childminders, nurseries and schools all having to close due to the pandemic. That has impacted on our numbers in 2020. However, with all our clients due to fully reopen in September, we are looking forward to returning to the same growth we enjoyed in 2019 and having a successful fourth quarter this year. Our core market has been the UK and Ireland, with over 70,000 childminders, 20,000 nurseries and 20,000 primary schools, supporting a total addressable market of £100 million per year. Having already secured customers in Dubai and Vietnam, we are actively exploring opportunities to extend into the international markets, and we see the US and Australia as key opportunities for further accelerated growth. The iCapture team have built successful edtech products in the past, and we have almost 30 years of combined experience in building secure and scalable solutions in this sector. Myself, Andy our CTO and Stephen our systems architect have all previously worked for Promethean, one of the leaders in education technology. Our principal investor is Tony Khan, the founder of Promethean, with over 22 years in the industry, and has supported us as both an investor and advisor. The investment we achieve through this crowdfunding will primarily be used to increase our development capacity and to increase our customer growth rate through marketing activities and sales development. An approximate breakdown will be 40% on R&D spend, followed by 30% on marketing and 10% on sales and onboarding. This will leave us with approximately 20% as a contingency for any unforeseen disruption caused by COVID-19.
We're excited for the opportunities that are available for the rest of this year and in the future for iCapture, and we hope that you would like to join us on our journey.
Hi, Paul. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Hi.
So we have several questions for you. First of all, great origin story. And can you tell us more about your plans to expand internationally, and what barriers do you see going there?
So I think internationally is probably our secondary objective, because the way that we see things at the moment is that the UK market, there's still quite a lot that we can do in the early years sector, but then we're looking at moving into the primary and secondary education areas as well. And what we're finding internationally is they've got exactly the same problems. So it's exactly the same challenges. They're really interested in taking these sorts of products on. But the biggest limitations are really looking at, say, the competitive space. So there's some fairly big competitors in the US market at the moment. And looking at our current funding and our current budgets, to actually go out there and expand would take a considerable amount of investment. So at the moment, we're kind of looking at developing our product within the UK space, and then hopefully after the round of funding that we've just, or we're currently securing, we'd look at a future round of funding for international expansion.
Makes a lot of sense. So can you tell us a little bit more about your app? We have a question from the audience about how can it be used in your everyday life?
Okay, so there's, I guess there's two different parts to the app. So there's the parent part, and then there's the part that's used by the schools and the nurseries to do the recording. And essentially what it happens is, if your child is at nursery or your child's in school and they do something that we'd class as a wow moment, or that the nursery would say that that's a really great thing, they could do a short video, send it to the parent, and then it will appear in the app. The app's great for us because it's a secure platform. So we know that the data isn't being shared on social media or some other sort of apps that they might be using. And then what we aim to do as we develop the product further is to make that app also very helpful for parents with children that do other activities outside of school, because essentially you can connect to as many organisations as you like into the app. So if your child goes to an after school music club, or they go do sports or something like that, those clubs can also connect through our app, and then they could share events and activities, and they could integrate the calendars so you can see exactly what your child might be doing. So for example, if it's football, where they're playing the match next weekend, what are the requirements, that kind of thing. And we've also already got integrated in the app a messaging tool. So the nursery or the school can actually send messages directly to the parents. Parents can respond, parents can create their own messages and send them to the nursery. So there's a whole communication thing that's involved within the app.
Sounds great. And can you tell us more about what's changed when the pandemic hit? Have you made any changes regarding your services, any pivots, and how do you see the progression?
Okay, so obviously the biggest impact to us initially with the pandemic was that they shut all the nurseries and childminders. So we had a period of about 6 or 7 months where there was essentially no activity or very limited activity on our systems. I guess the small silver lining that's come from COVID is that everybody's used to doing what we're doing today, which is Zoom calls and that sort of thing. So one of our biggest barriers to entry was nurseries or schools that were concerned about technology and how their staff might be able to take that on. So what we found actually since they all started coming back in September is that there's a great deal more interest, and our nursery sign-ups have probably gone back to similar levels to where they were towards the end of 2019. Our renewals are actually slightly up on what they would normally be, so we're probably going to be around about 90% this year. And what we're also seeing is that the schools, which is a sort of a new venture for us, we launched schools during the pandemic, and we've now got a beta trial that should be with around 20 schools starting after half term. We'd hoped to get it before half term, but because of, as I think we're all experiencing in our everyday lives, the parameters for COVID keep changing, and so schools keep getting thrown from one sort of situation to another, and they don't really have a huge amount of time for much in the way of new technology. And they've been bringing on board things like Zoom and stuff like that. So I think that's taken a lot of attention, but we've got a sort of a strong expectation that after half term that'll really pick up again.
I can see. So we have a final question regarding what would be the incentive for organizations to join your app?
So I guess the biggest incentives are from their perspective, they save a huge amount of time. So the average nursery saves about 6.5 hours a week, which for our system, we charge a relatively small price. So we actually only charge about £160 per year for the subscription for a nursery, and it's about £350 for a school. We've actually got in our development plans a sort of full admin product for the nurseries, which will be an extra sort of a more expensive solution for them. But they save a huge amount of time. And the other thing, as you saw from the testimonials, is the parents love it. They get to see things at the moment that the children do it, rather than hearing about it 2 or 3 days later. And they get to share videos. So that's something that you can't do with paper, which I think is a really powerful thing. So yeah, I think when you put all of the things together, it just makes so much sense for them to switch to digital, and it's something I think all of them are starting to look at now.
Thank you very much, Paul, for your presentation and for answering our questions. If there are any additional questions to Paul, you can ask them, and he'll answer them at Discord after the event. Thank you, Paul. And now it's time for our next presenter, Sajid from Mark Labs.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your interest and time. My name is Sajid, and I work in business development for Mark Labs. What we're trying to do here at Mark Labs is provide resource allocators with a clearer picture for value outside of the monetary aspect. Now, this aspect is called many things, including impact investments and ESG, environmental, social, and governance opportunities. Now, the growth of ESG investing is clear and obvious and has only been accelerated by the increasing climate and societal crises. Now, don't take it from me, better from someone like Larry Fink, that this is part of reassessing the value indicators in modern finance. Now, what needs to be in place for this to succeed is buy-in from the major bodies that play a part, and we have seen signals from all three aspects. So regulations that financially incentivize impact, things like the climate accords and country-specific carbon targets are examples of these. A growing investor class demanding more than financial indicators, the much feared millennials, such as myself, and evidence of tying positive impact, i.e. optimizing ESG indicators with superior financial performance. Now, while the buy-in is great, it is still developing, and this leads to a lot of growing pains. Data availability, ESG assessment frameworks, and context are just three examples of these issues that can lead to that headline. A fund performing well on ESG metrics, but often with a lack of granularity or enough context going into supply chains and real exposure. When looking at the investor perception of ESG funds, I like to use the Whole Foods analogy. There is a price premium, but you feel an additional level of comfort that the foods are well sourced and of a higher quality. Similarly, while there are funds that will outperform ESG funds, there is inherent sustainability risk that ESG funds aim to protect you from. And we like to think that we can help these funds actually create better impact outcomes for all. And we are developing a platform that integrates with investment assessment solutions. The 4 elements provided help provide an ESG factor into the investment assessment. The asset manager profile allows the user-specific ESG lens, for example, focusing on gender equity, to be factored in. Often, the problems with using ESG is the sheer volume of data and data analyses. So similar to the depth of financial analyses available to asset managers, we identify leading ESG data providers, quantification methods using natural language processing, and subsequent trend analyses. Finally, we provide a dashboard allowing users to identify pertinent ESG-related risks and insights. Now, the ESG space has developed into a large ecosystem, and we see ourselves as an aggregator of data providers and frameworks, giving the user a large amount of agency in the way they utilize the platform, a descriptive rather than prescriptive experience. Our minimum viable product was based on utilizing our NLP technology with an immediate use case for asset managers, namely assessing materiality. As can be seen in this graphic, we are able to identify company-specific material issues that have arisen through online media publications and placing it alongside financial performance. While this is useful on its own, it is the first step in being able to provide a comprehensive ESG risk and impact investing platform. This roadmap shows our proposed progression to the final product. This slide highlights the key ingredients that go into our overall assessment services, utilizing public and third-party ESG-specific data providers with a suite of impact-specific analyses from expert organizations such as the Impact Measurement Project. Now, this graphic again illustrates how we see ourselves in the ESG impact and ecosystem space and how we would provide value. And while this is targeted at asset managers, we have conducted POCs and other engagements, and we look to develop use cases for a number of other types of organizations. Thank you. We're taking questions now.
Hi, Sajid. Thank you very much for your presentation. It's been very interesting. Can you tell us a bit more about your origin story and what made you embark on this journey?
Yeah, sure. So I must say that I am not the CEO, but like everybody who works at Mark Labs, we all had some sort of dissatisfaction. I mean, in general, with the status quo, and we see this as I don't want to sound overly dramatic, but the beginnings of sort of a changing in the way in terms of how financial services are valued. So we all see, so our founder, who he spent a few months when he's based in Washington, D.C., spent some time in India and saw some of the inequalities that were there, huge successes on one side and huge inequalities on the other. And, this is basically the question or the problem that we're trying to help to solve is a reduction in this sort of inequality. So there is a problem with the system. What we're trying to do is, we've seen changes in the system throughout the years. So maybe 20, 30 years ago, there were screenings of investments like tobacco, weapons, things like that you can consider the first step of ESG screening. Moving further down to the operations being screened, so deep sea oil drilling, things like that being avoided. And now we want to take it to the active investing in positive impact. So being able to map all that out and show that impact and be a part of that journey, that's really what drew us all into this team.
That is a great mission, I have to say. You mentioned your founder. Can you tell us a little bit more about your team composition, your team experience, and in particular your experience with impact investing and ESG?
Yeah, absolutely. So personally, I came into it, almost complete. I had experience in financial services. Our founder, CEO, he actually he was a law background, spent some time, did his MBA at Oxford, and then he submitted. This was a problem he had decided he wanted to solve while he was a consultant. And the way we have learned or gained experience in the field is by getting into, I think, about 6 accelerators and testing a product, testing the market space, getting to know our network and partners. So we started off with Barclays Techstars in London, which is where I met him 3 years ago. Then went to a Mass Challenge again in London, then the SDGIA, which is a Social Development Goals Impact Accelerator in Turkey, which was backed by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So in these sorts of spaces, when you're looking to tackle specific impact problems, you are naturally exposed to people in the field. And so during these experiences, we met our current CTO in the SDGIA Impact Accelerator, who's naturally impact inclined. Then we have impact measurement master's student, who is our head of research. So it was during this journey, really. I mean, nobody is an impact expert. It's a fairly new topic, I would say. So the short answer is half learned and half acquired.
Fair enough. So just sort of clarify, you have 14 members at the moment, or?
No, I should have included the team slide. We have now 11 team members with 3 part-time members and a few advisors who we speak to every week.
Sounds great. So can you tell us a little bit more about your go-to-market strategy after the trials, and how do you plan to monetize the product?
Yes, absolutely. So our go-to-market strategy, we would consider there's 3 parts to this. So the connect with clients, this is what we see happening in the accelerators that we were in, the Mass Challenge, Techstars, and currently Startup Bootcamp in Australia. Somehow we find a way to travel even when everything is locked. I mentioned Startup Bootcamp Australia because we are currently engaged in 1 POC out of 3, which we will use to validate what we're building. As I showed you, we have a product roadmap that we plan on sticking to. So once we get enough validation, we're hoping to turn a few of these POCs into longer term clients. Then the next step in that journey is develop those client relationships and then capture value and scale.
Sounds great. And just the final question, can you tell us about your pricing model?
Yes, absolutely. So just give me 1 second. So yes, we have a few different aspects to the pricing model. So we will have a setup fee. Then we would have an annual fee per seat, which is tiered by types of users. So depending on the analyst use case or versus on a portfolio manager use case, which is currently what we're doing when it comes to asset management. Then we are also conducting bespoke studies. So because we are in the field of impact measurement, an example of this bespoke study is we're conducting the impact of vocational training providers in Gaziantep, Turkey, as part of the STGI experience. So it's a completely different use case compared to asset managers, but at the same time, we are describing the impact of these training programs, helping refugees integrate into Turkey, the only place where refugees are not kept in a camp. Which is why we have to have the bespoke studies. And then we have certain features that we will use to upsell. So that is specific data providers such as Equileap, which specify really deep gender equality type data. Specific data sets and specific analyses in Premium.
Perfect, sounds great. Thank you very much, Sajid. If anyone has any further questions, they're welcome to ask them at Discord after the event.
Thank you, Arkady.
And now on to our final presenter, Aisling.
I'm Aisling, a founder of New, the social network to share your wardrobe and reduce your impact. Meet Alex. Alex has a lot of clothes. Most of them just sit in her wardrobe, but what's the harm in that? Well, if Alex does this, and her friends do it, and their friends do it, and their friends do it, that is just too much clothes. £30 billion worth of unused clothes in the UK alone. It is such a waste. Today we're buying new trends quicker, wearing them less, and disposing of more. It's time to break up with fast fashion. Enter New, the social networking app to share your clothes and reduce your impact. It is an open relationship with your wardrobe, and the rules are simple. All members pay a monthly subscription fee of £7.99 and share their own pieces with our collective wardrobe. Borrow the pieces you want just for a fling, lend the items that you love and want to keep yourself, and swap those pieces that you're ready to consciously uncouple from. As a renewer, Alex uploads the pieces that she wants to share or swap, and they go through New's approval process. Upload items to lend and borrow from other people short term. Upload items to swap and get gifted a gold or a silver token depending on the standard, and use those tokens to immediately take pieces that you would like. Because of New's token system, members don't have to go through that frustrating process of finding someone to directly swap with. They can choose anything that they like on the platform. Check out Alex's dress getting borrowed 3 times, and Jenny's dress getting swapped with Jade, and Kimberly's jacket getting swapped with Ruth. So Alex trades her individual wardrobe for a collective closet. She trades paying per piece for unlimited access at an affordable price. And she trades climate anxiety for a new sustainable fashion experience. And there are more people like Alex. Approximately 9.4 million people like Alex, aged 18 to 35 across the UK and Ireland. And 126 million when looking at Europe and America. This demographic genuinely care about sustainability, but they overconsume fashion in such an unsustainable way because they love fashion and they want to look good. We reach members like Alex through social media, our brand ambassador network and word of mouth, and our current cost per download is £2.20. As the app can be used in the same way all over the world, we are developing the platform to autonomously scale to new locations through our members. UPS and Parcel Motel are our logistics partners. Superhog, a sharing economy insurance platform, is our insurance partners. And we've developed an environmental impact calculator with the London Waste and Recycling Board. We're also working on B2B partnerships and exploring additional revenue streams. Wondering if clothes sharing is the next big trend in fashion? Well, New is front and centre of the second-hand clothing market, which is expected to grow to 1.5 times that of fast fashion and triple in value to an estimated $64 billion by 2028. We see the biggest opportunity in mass market adoption of affordable, sustainable fashion alternatives. That's why we focus purely on sharing and swapping rather than rental, which can have a high price point of £30 to £200 per rental, or resale where people are buying per piece and constantly using and spending money. Instead, new members pay a fixed, accessible subscription. Our mission is to give life to the clothes that already exist in our wardrobes and to empower people to reduce their fashion carbon footprint in an accessible and affordable way. To date, we've had a beta test of New and we've launched publicly on the App Store, iOS and Android. There are 4,500 registered renewers and over 1,000 borrows and swaps have already taken place. There's early stage revenue generation with 257 paid members, 6.6k revenue and a 6% conversion to paid user. And New is led by a great team. I'm Aisling, CEO, with a background in media and sustainable fashion. Paddy is New CTO, a full-stack developer who has previously led tech teams at Zalando and HubSpot. Roisin is our COO with a background in fashion merchandising and commercial management. And Alex is our communications manager and social media extraordinaire, building New and our brand and community. We are raising a 150k EIS eligible investment with a company valuation of 1.5 million. This round will give us the time and resources to focus on increasing our members, increasing retention, and to build a beautiful and immersive experience for our members. Our key KPI is 20% month-on-month growth of both members and activity. We've committed 124k of this round with Bethnal Green Ventures, angel investors who have previously taken part in our initial round, a previous round, and the London Fashion Fund is also putting in 25k. We're seeking the remaining 26k of investment today. This will allow us to continue building New and gaining the traction that we need to raise a significant seed round in early 2021 to scale, reaching our ultimate target of 135 million in revenue by 2024. Help Alex break up with fast fashion and get ready for something new. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aisling, for your presentation. It's been very engaging. And can you tell us a little bit more about the origin? How did you start, and what made you to embark on this journey?
Yeah, so I spent some time in India in 2013, which was the same year as the Rana Plaza building collapse in Dhaka in Bangladesh. And that was kind of the first time that the social and environmental impact of the fast fashion industry was kind of, I really saw it firsthand. And I guess my frustration personally was that as a young woman, a lot of the sustainable fashion alternatives felt almost like a luxury. They could have quite a high price point. They could be sometimes not as accessible as fast fashion was. And so it came from a real personal need and an understanding that we all had enough clothes in our wardrobes to be able to last for generations. And if we could recirculate them in an easier way and bring that kind of authentic sharing mentality that was already happening among friends and family online, we could really build something that had a global impact and provided a real accessible alternative to fast fashion.
Sounds good. Can you tell us more a little bit about your sustainability mission and your impact calculator?
Yeah, so at the very heart of New, it's all about how do we reduce the environmental impact of fashion and how do we avoid buying clothes firsthand but still achieving that feeling of finding something that's new to you. So the impact calculator that we developed with the London Waste and Recycling Board looks at the carbon, waste and water offset of each borrow and swap that happens on the platform. So according to WRAP, you'll offset 25% at a minimum of resources that would have been used in the production of a new garment for every borrow and swap that happens on the platform. So for every 4 shares or swaps, you're diverting 1 piece of clothing from actually going to landfill. We want to go one step further in that, looking at any kind of logistics that are used around the actual delivery, especially after COVID, in the actual sharing process. But for now, we focus on the materials and the environmental impact that they would have created had they not been reused by our community.
Sounds great. Thank you for this. And can you tell us a little bit more about your profitability plans and how many users do you will need to get to that stage, and when do you see yourself to get to profitability?
Yeah, so in the next 5 years, we'd be looking at 2 million paid monthly subscribers, and we'd look at hitting a kind of break-even period in about 3 to 4 years' time, really, because we want to be able to build out the tech and scale to a significant level kind of globally and really put everything that we make back into the business to be able to scale. So ours is really built on kind of the network effect getting us to profitability. So it's us being able to allow some parts of the app to be freemium for some amount of time to be able to build up that habit and ultimately build that into people's lifestyle, and then look at people being lifelong users. Right now we look at the lifetime value of a member as a 4-year period, but we would like to kind of work on extending that.
Makes sense. And so you mentioned you need to get 2 million users, which essentially means that by that time you need to be expanding globally. And you mentioned this is one of your plans. So which countries are you planning to target initially, and what is the reasoning behind these choices?
We'd mainly look at Europe and the US, specifically the US because it's one of the highest consumers of fashion in the world. So if we're looking at the kind of environmental impact that we want to reduce, that would be the perfect target market and kind of demographic to be going after, especially young women within the US. We're looking to kind of scale New out as a social network. So we're building the platform in a way that means that members can autonomously set New up in their own location rather than us having to always dictate where it needs to go. So being able to give them users the kind of variety that they need, it would, in the first instance, be helpful if we can do that in English-speaking countries, and then be able to kind of look at cultural or language barriers to be able to expand that further out. So that would be kind of Western Europe initially, and then the US and Canada as our kind of first international expansion plans.
Makes a lot of sense. So just to sort of get a better understanding of how the platform is going to work, let's say I want to borrow some jeans, right? So when I borrow it, do I have to return it, or do I swap it with another person at the later stage? How would this work?
So there's 2 sections of the platform. There's short-term borrowing, which obviously was great before COVID. So if you were going to a wedding or you were going to an event, you could borrow that for a short term. It worked specifically well in universities when people were going to balls. They'd have a couple of seasons, balls events and seasons during the year. And those were the ones that you would return. So that's one section of the platform. The second section of the platform is the permanent swapping. So you upload some pieces that you're ready to permanently part with, and you get tokens in return. You can use those tokens to take from whoever you like on the platform, and someone can take your pieces using their tokens. So you don't have to directly swap with someone, but when you do pass on that piece, that goes permanently, and they can use it for as long as they like, and they can re-swap it on the platform if they'd like to do that as well. So that's actually our COVID pivot. So that's what we did during lockdown. We had ran swap shops in a physical capacity before that, and they had worked really well. So we knew all the mechanics and how it worked. But that's actually been a really good performer, especially because stores are closing, because people are spending more time with their wardrobe. They're liking to refresh it, but they're looking for items that are a bit more casual and a bit more long-term. So that's actually increased our activity by 24% since we introduced that in July. So it's been a really good learning, and it's kind of something that can also allow New to kind of flourish during any future lockdowns that happen.
Okay, that's very interesting statistics. And a final question is, let's say I'm borrowing a piece of clothes and I get the piece of clothes and I see that the quality of it is not the one which I expected. So what happens next?
So we have an approval process. So we actually vet the pieces before they go live on the platform. So if there's anything that we're unsure of, we'll be able to check that before it goes up. And then there's peer-to-peer contracts that happen between borrowers and lenders. And we deal with many of those on case-by-case basis. If anything were to happen, we have kind of rules that govern the community to kind of foster that trust. And because people are both borrowers and lenders on the platform, there's a real sense of building the right community, because there are barriers to entry. You can't actually take pieces or borrow pieces on the platform unless you've contributed yourself. In the case of any damage, we have a partnership that we're building with Superhog, which is a sharing economy insurance platform. And so we're able to kind of cover any of those things that might happen to members in between if they don't have a great experience. Right now, because the platform is small and we're really fostering that community, we've been able to kind of overcome any of those challenges and then iterate the platform so that we're able to cater for them in the future.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you very much. Actually, I think that's the end of my questions. So this is the end of the event. I'm just gonna welcome back each presenter to say goodbye, and I don't know, to make a sort of a pass, which we usually do during the real event. Just let okay. So okay, I'll just yeah. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining. I really enjoyed all of the presentations. I hope that you enjoyed it as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at Discord. And thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining London UTech. And let's speak at Discord.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for hosting.
Thank you.
Thank you.